For the last 20 years, the standard playbook for residential solar has been almost insultingly predictable. A contractor shows up, bolts a few identical blue silicon rectangles onto your south-facing roof, shakes your hand, and hands you a utility bill that is slightly smaller than it was before. And if you think that is energy independence, you have been sold a very expensive lie. Because right now, sitting in engineering labs, in Latvian startups, in Chinese gigafactories, and in the product catalogs of manufacturers most American homeowners have never even heard of, there are solar panels that make everything your installer ever showed you look like a relic from a different century. We are talking about panels that eliminate their own internal shading losses. Panels with a temperature coefficient so low, they actually outperform their rated spec on the hottest days of the year. Panels that are literally fusing two completely separate generations of solar physics into a single commercial cell for the very first time in human history, and every single one of them is available to buy right now. The centralized grid has never been more vulnerable. Rolling blackouts, infrastructure that was engineered for a world that no longer exists, and utility companies raising rates faster than most families can absorb. The old answer was to bolt on some commodity panels and hope for the best. That answer is dead. The gap between what the mainstream installation industry is still selling you in 2026 and what the absolute cutting edge of photovoltaic material science can actually deliver has never been wider, never been more financially significant, and never been more accessible to a regular homeowner willing to do 5 minutes of research beyond their installer's default catalog. Today, we are breaking down the 5 best solar panels you can put on your property right now. The exact physics behind why they outperform everything else. The real numbers, the off-the-shelf products. And by the end of this video, you will know more about the true state of residential solar technology than 90% of the people installing it. Number 5, the Qcells Q.Tron. To kick off the list, we are starting with the panel that the American residential solar market has quietly crowned as its most trusted workhorse, and for very good reason. The Qcells Q.Tron is the definitive entry point into the modern generation of N-type solar technology, and understanding why requires a brief trip into the physics of why older panels were failing homeowners without anyone ever talking about it. The vast majority of solar panels installed on American homes over the last decade used something called P-type silicon. P-type cells suffer from a devastating electrochemical phenomenon known as light-induced degradation, or LID. The moment you expose a brand new P-type panel to real sunlight for the first time, its efficiency immediately begins to drop. This is not a manufacturing defect. It is a fundamental characteristic of the boron-oxygen bonds inside the silicon itself. You are paying full price for a panel that begins degrading from the exact moment it starts working. N-type silicon, which is what the Qcells is built on, completely eliminates this mechanism. Because N-type cells use phosphorus doping instead of boron, the defect pathway responsible for LID simply does not exist. Your panel on day 1 performs identically to your panel on day 1000. The Qcells uses Qcells' proprietary Q-Atom Neo-Topcon architecture. Topcon stands for Tunnel Oxide Passivated Contact, and the engineering behind it is genuinely brilliant. An ultra-thin oxide layer is grown directly onto the silicon surface, creating a passivation barrier that dramatically reduces electron recombination. Fewer electrons are lost in transit. More of the sunlight that hits your roof gets converted into usable electricity. The result is efficiency up to 22.5% and power output up to 440 watts in a standard residential frame. What makes the Qcells the number 5 choice, rather than a higher ranking, is not performance. It is the context of where it sits in the broader solar landscape. This is the intelligent, responsible entry point, not the pinnacle. For homeowners who want a proven, domestically assembled product from a manufacturer with a rock-solid warranty infrastructure, this is the answer. The Qcells is assembled at Qcells factory in Dalton, Georgia, the largest solar panel manufacturing facility in the entire Western Hemisphere, backed by a 25-year product and performance warranty guaranteeing at least 90.58% of nominal power output after a full quarter century of operation. at an installed cost of roughly $2.30 to $2.60 per watt. It is the benchmark of intelligent, accessible, future-proof solar in 2026. Next up, the REC Alpha Pure RX, where the Q.Tron represents the intelligent mainstream. Our number 4 spot goes to a panel that takes the underlying physics of solar energy conversion and completely rewrites the rules through a fundamentally different cell architecture. This is the REC Alpha Pure RX, and the technology powering it is called heterojunction, or HJT. To understand why HJT is such a genuine leap forward, you need to understand the hidden enemy of every solar panel ever made, which is heat. Every solar panel ever installed on a rooftop suffers from a well-documented problem. As the cell temperature rises above 77 degrees Fahrenheit, its output falls. This is measured by what engineers call the temperature coefficient, and it is one of the most brutally honest numbers in a solar panel specification sheet. A standard commodity panel might have a temperature coefficient of minus 0.34% per degree Celsius. On a sweltering August afternoon when your roof surface is sitting at 160 degrees, you are losing a significant fraction of your rated output at exactly the moment the sun is most intense. The REC Alpha Pure RX achieves a temperature coefficient of minus 0.24% per degree Celsius. That is not a marginal improvement. That is a fundamentally different thermodynamic behavior, and it stems directly from the HJT cell architecture itself. REC's engineers sandwich a layer of crystalline silicon between ultra-thin amorphous silicon layers on both sides. This configuration creates an exceptionally clean interface between the layers that dramatically reduces the thermal losses that plague conventional cells. The physics simply behave differently at the molecular level. The result is a 470-watt panel with 22.6% efficiency in a compact, elegant, completely lead-free, all-black design. But the single most important number on the REC Alpha Pure RX specification sheet is the degradation rate. REC guarantees 92% of the original power output at 25 years at an annual degradation rate of just 0.27% per year. To put that into perspective for a homeowner doing long-term financial planning, this panel is mathematically guaranteed to be producing more power in year 25 than a standard commodity panel would be producing in year 15. That lifetime energy advantage is not a marketing claim. It is a legally binding performance warranty, backed by one of the most respected names in European solar manufacturing. You can buy a single REC Alpha Pure RX 470-watt panel for roughly $350 to $400. And when you are building a system designed to deliver decades of maximum energy yield, that premium over a budget panel pays back many times over. Number 3, the Aiko Neostar series. When we shift our focus to the absolute frontier of mainstream residential efficiency, we run into a technological wall that the conventional solar industry has been trying to smash through for decades, which is the simple presence of metal on the front of a solar cell. Every conventional solar panel you have ever seen has a grid of metallic bus bars printed directly across the face of the silicon. These bus bars are absolutely necessary for collecting electrical current, but they also cast permanent microscopic shadows across the very cells they are supposed to be collecting power from. You are losing efficiency to the panel's own collection hardware. This is not a fixable manufacturing defect. It is a geometric constraint baked into the fundamental architecture of front contact solar design. Aiko's ABC technology, which stands for all back contact, solves this problem by eliminating front side metal entirely. Every single electrical contact is moved to the rear surface of the cell. The entire front face of the silicon is left completely clean and unobstructed, exposed to maximum incident sunlight with zero shadowing losses from metal bus bars. This architectural decision unlocks efficiency ceilings that front contact designs simply cannot reach through any amount of incremental refinement. The engineering goes even deeper than that. Aiko has completely replaced the standard silver paste interconnections used in the solar industry with their proprietary InvisiRibbon copper wiring system. Silver is expensive, thermally fatiguing, and prone to developing micro cracks over long, high-temperature operational cycles. Copper is a superior electrical conductor, handles thermal expansion and contraction dramatically better over decades, and runs significantly cooler under sustained heavy electrical loads. Aiko has simultaneously eliminated front-side shading and the primary long-term mechanical failure mode of traditional panel design in a single product generation. The 2026 Aiko Neostar Gen 3 series delivers efficiency up to 25.2%, packing 500 watts of generation capacity into a standard residential panel frame under 2 square meters in footprint. The temperature coefficient is -0.26% per degree Celsius, outstanding for a high-efficiency silicon panel. Annual degradation is just 0.35% per year after the initial first-year drop, with a 25-year product warranty and a 30-year performance guarantee. The panel that maximizes every square foot of your roof without requiring you to physically expand it. A full residential installation using Aiko Neostar panels runs roughly $700 to $900 more than a comparable generic TOPCon system, a premium that the additional lifetime energy yield mathematically justifies in virtually every high sun-hour market in America. Number 2. The Longi Hi-MO S10. This one belongs to a technological category so new and so genuinely unprecedented that the mainstream solar installation industry has barely begun talking about it. And that silence is costing homeowners who are building generation systems right now a staggering amount of future energy potential. This is HIBC, heterojunction interdigitated back contact, and the Longi Hi-MO S10 is the first and only mass-produced residential solar module on the planet built on this platform. To understand why this matters so profoundly, you need to understand that HJT and back contact IBC architecture each solve a completely different half of the solar efficiency problem. HJT technology, as we saw in the REC panel, excels at reducing thermal recombination losses and maintaining output in extreme heat, achieving outstanding temperature coefficients. Back contact IBC architecture, as we saw in the Aiko Neostar, eliminates front-side shading losses entirely by moving all contacts to the rear of the cell. For years, these two technologies existed as separate, competing philosophies. The engineering challenge of combining them into a single commercial cell was considered so difficult that most manufacturers abandoned it entirely and chose one approach or the other. Longi has achieved both simultaneously. The Hi-MO S10 integrates full-surface HJT passivation with a back contact electrode structure in a single mass-produced cell that is now certified at 27.3% cell efficiency by Germany's ISFH, the Institute for Solar Energieforschung Hamelin. That is not a laboratory curiosity. That is a verified, independently certified performance benchmark on a cell that is actively shipping in commercial volumes. The module-level result is 25% efficiency and 510 watts of output in a compact 54-cell residential format with a temperature coefficient of -0.24% per degree Celsius that matches the absolute best HJT panels available anywhere. Degradation is just 1% in year 1, followed by a best-in-class 0.35% annual rate. Longi backs this with a 30-year product warranty and a 30-year performance warranty, a combined warranty depth that almost nothing else in the residential market comes close to matching. This is the panel for the homeowner who is building a generation system today with the absolute maximum long-term energy yield in mind. It is currently rolling out through European distribution channels and selective US supply chains, with pricing still settling as availability expands. The technological leadership it represents is unambiguous. Number 1, the Aiko Infinite Ultra Gen 4. This is the absolute king of residential generation technology right now, and it represents the clearest picture available anywhere of where home solar generation is heading. The 4th generation Aiko Infinite Ultra is the definitive residential solar flagship of 2026. Debuting at 690 watts with a verified module efficiency reaching 26% peak, the highest ever achieved in a commercially available residential format. To understand why this matters so profoundly, you need to revisit what has held silicon solar efficiency back for so long. Every previous efficiency ceiling has been imposed by one of three physical constraints: either front-side metal shading, or thermal recombination at the cell surface, or the fundamental inability of a single-junction silicon cell to absorb the full spectrum of sunlight that hits it. Different wavelengths of light carry different amounts of energy. A single silicon cell can only efficiently absorb a specific range of that spectrum. The rest is either reflected away or converted into waste heat. Aiko's Gen 4 platform addresses every single one of these limitations simultaneously. The Infinite Ultra retains the complete back contact architecture of its predecessors, eliminating front-side shading entirely. It introduces Aiko's latest generation zero-gap cell layout with InvisiRibbon Gen 4 copper interconnections, reducing internal electrical resistance to the absolute minimum the physics of the material currently allow. The cell coverage across the panel face is maximized to a degree that earlier generations of this technology could not achieve. The result is a panel that generates more watts per square foot than any commercially available residential panel in history. For a homeowner with limited roof space, a complex roofline, or a high-energy demand property that requires a large system without sprawling across every available surface, this changes the mathematical equation completely. Where a standard 22% efficient panel required 5 tiles of roof space to generate a given amount of power, the Infinite Ultra Gen 4 can generate that same power from 3. The same roof footprint becomes a dramatically larger power plant. The 25-year product warranty and 30-year performance guarantee that Aiko provides across its premium line means you are buying a generation asset that is genuinely intended to outlast the financing you used to purchase it. And at the cutting edge of residential photovoltaics, that kind of longevity guarantee is exactly what separates a genuine energy independence investment from an expensive commodity purchase. The pursuit of true generation sovereignty has evolved far beyond simply bolting commodity rectangles onto your roof and hoping the inverter does the rest. It is now a highly sophisticated discipline of material science, thermodynamic optimization, and architectural cell engineering driven by incredible off-the-shelf and near-commercial products that are available to anyone willing to look past the conventional installer's default catalog. By understanding the exact physics that separate an N-type TOPCon workhorse from a back-contact HIBC flagship, you can purchase the precise hardware needed to build a generation system that does not merely offset your utility bill, but permanently and mathematically replaces your dependency on a centralized grid forever. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for my videos like this. In the next one, we will break down the best storage systems for commercial homes in 2026.